My name is Taylor Harper. Last Sunday, during our usual backyard BBQ in Evergreen, Colorado, my younger brother Dylan turned to the whole family and bragged loud and clear, "I just got promoted to manager of a five-star hotel, and you'll always be the loser." Mom and Dad burst out laughing, tears of pride in their eyes, then turned to me and shook their heads, as if I were the biggest disappointment of their lives. At the far end of the table, only Grandma Evelyn, 81, stayed silent and looked straight at me. I set my glass down, smiled, and replied loud enough for everyone to hear, "Actually." The entire yard froze. If you want to see the moment the family loser made them choke on their own words in under 5 minutes, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because this story is ice cold. Friday, 4:45 p.m. I walked out of the sleek law firm tower in lower downtown Denver, the final signature still drying on the single most important deal I had ever closed in my life. I didn't smile for the cameras, didn't call anyone, didn't even check my phone for congratulations. There was only one place I had to be in 48 hours, and nobody in that building had any idea how perfectly the timing lined up. The elevator dropped me to the parking garage. My phone buzzed twice before I reached the car. First message: family group chat from Mom. Sunday 4 p.m. BBQ at the house. Attendance is mandatory. Dylan has huge news. Do not be late this time. Second message private from Grandma Evelyn. Come home this weekend, sweetheart. I'm 81 now, and I want to see your face while I still can. I stood there between two concrete pillars for a long second, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, climbed into my scratched-up 2016 Subaru Forester, and pointed it west toward the mountains. The drive to Evergreen has always been the same: 47 minutes of winding highway, pine trees, and memories I never asked for. Windows down, cold air whipping my hair, I let them come anyway. I was 17 the day Dad sat me down in the living room and explained that the full-ride academic scholarship I'd earned to Cornell was being redirected. Dylan needed a new goalie coach and travel team fees. Family sacrifice. Taylor, you're smart. You'll find another way. Mom just nodded like it was the most natural thing in the world. 19, I was bartending until 3 a.m. and taking 8 a.m. classes at CU Boulder because my parents refused to co-sign any more loans after they'd already co-signed Dylan's brand new lifted Tacoma. He was still in high school. 22, I slept on air mattresses in Brooklyn walk-ups, sending hundreds of cold emails to investors who never answered. Dylan was back home working the ticket booth at the local Hill, telling everyone he was scouting management opportunities. Every Christmas, every birthday, every random Sunday dinner, the script never changed. If I mentioned a new deal, eyes glazed over. If Dylan talked about maybe possibly someday moving up at the resort, Mom and Dad hung on every word like he was delivering the State of the Union. I learned early to stop sharing. I learned to smile politely, nod, and go back to my laptop after dessert. I learned to register companies in Delaware, route money through Wyoming LLCs, and sign my name on documents nobody in Evergreen would ever see. Grandma Evelyn was the only one who noticed. She never asked for numbers or titles. She'd just slip me a cup of tea, pat my hand, and say, "Keep building, sweetheart. One day, the mountain comes to you." She said it the first time when I was 14, and she caught me crying over a B+ Dylan got praised for turning into an A-. She said it again when I was 28 and wired her the money for a new roof without telling anyone it came from me. I turned off the highway onto the narrow road that climbs into Evergreen. The sun was dropping behind the foothills, painting everything gold and sharp. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, not from fear, but from the sudden, dizzying realization that tomorrow, the invisible wall I'd been building brick by brick for 15 years was finally going to be seen by the people who never bothered to look. I passed the same faded green mailbox, the same crooked basketball hoop Dylan never learned to shoot, on the same driveway where Dad's 10-year-old Tacoma sat like nothing had changed in a decade. I killed the engine, grabbed the six-pack of cheap beer I'd bought as camouflage, and walked around to the backyard gate. I pushed the backyard gate and the smell slammed into me. Sharp pine smoke curled together with the heavy, expensive scent of Wagyu hitting the hot grates. Dad stood over the big barrel smoker in his faded Broncos apron turning steaks, with the same proud grin he wore every holiday. Mom darted between coolers and the long picnic table arranging potato salad and grilled asparagus like it was Thanksgiving. Uncles, aunts, a couple cousins I hadn't seen in years. Everyone was already 3 beers in. Dylan held center stage by the fire pit navy Aspen Ridge polo tucked in just enough to look intentional. The second he saw me, his smile went wide and sharp. "Well, well, the wanderer returns," he announced to the yard. "Thought we'd have to send search and rescue." A few chuckles rippled around. Mom hurried over, gave me a quick side hug, and immediately started fussing. "You made it. Good. Grab a plate before the good steaks are gone." Dad glanced over his shoulder. "Still rolling in that dented Subaru, huh? One of these days, you'll get a real car." I set the six-pack on the table and shrugged. "Runs fine." Dylan wasn't letting me fade into the background. He raised his bottle like he was about to give a toast. "Speaking of upgrades," he said, chest-puffed, "allow me to introduce the new general manager of Aspen Ridge Vale starting Monday morning. Private office on the top floor company, Tahoe expense account, the whole package." Mom actually squealed and threw her arms around him. Dad abandoned the grill long enough to pull Dylan into a bear hug, spatula still in hand. "That's my boy, I knew it was just a matter of time." The relatives swarmed. Backslaps, questions, phone cameras. Someone shoved another beer into Dylan's hand. He accepted it like a king accepting tribute. I took the empty chair at the far end of the table, the one nobody ever fights for. A second later, a small warm hand slid into mine under the red-checkered cloth. Grandma Evelyn gave me 3 soft squeezes, the same code she'd used since I was 8. I squeezed back twice. She didn't let go. Dylan was on a roll. They're gutting the top floor for executive suites. I already picked the desk, Italian leather chair, floor-to-ceiling windows looking straight down the Gore Range. Dad whistled. "Starting 450 right base." Dylan corrected, grinning. "Bonuses push it way higher." Mom turned to me with that familiar half-smile, equal parts pity and gentle scolding. "See, Taylor. This is what happens when you stay committed instead of bouncing around all the time." A couple of aunts nodded like it was gospel. One cousin muttered, "Still figuring it out at 33, just loud enough for the table to hear." I took a slow sip of water. Grandma Evelyn's grip tightened again. She leaned a fraction closer and whispered, so only I could hear, "They still don't see you, do they?" I gave the tiniest shake of my head. Dylan wasn't finished. He sauntered over, planted both hands on the table in front of me, and leaned in. "So what about you, Tay? Still doing those secret little projects nobody's allowed to ask about? Or did you finally land something with health insurance?" The yard went quieter, waiting for me to shrink. I looked straight back at him, calm, unblinking. "Funny you mention projects," I said. "I actually wrapped up a pretty big one Friday afternoon." He barked a laugh. "Big like 50 grand? Big 100. Come on, give us a number so we can celebrate properly." Mom sighed. "Honey, we just want you to have stability. Dylan's showing everyone what real success looks like." Grandma Evelyn released my hand only long enough to pick up her iced tea. She took a slow sip, eyes never leaving the seam lips pressed into the smallest satisfied smile. Dylan raised his bottle in a sarcastic toast. To the little brother finally putting the Harper name on the map. Glasses clinked all around the table. 2 people didn't raise theirs. I slipped my phone out under the tablecloth, thumb hovering over one new email notification, time-stamped 5:58 p.m. yesterday. Still unopened. I locked the screen, slid it away, and looked across the smoke at Dylan, soaking in applause he hadn't earned yet. He really thought the party was for him. Dylan couldn't stop. The more beer he drank, the wilder the story got. They're converting the entire 28th floor just for me, he declared, arms wide like he was measuring an invisible palace. Floor-to-ceiling glass private elevator that opens straight into the office, 180-degree view of the entire Gore Range. Victor said they've never done anything like this for someone under 30. I nearly choked on my water. Aspen Ridge Vale's tallest building tops out at 26 floors. 27 is HVAC. 28 is storage and ski lockers. I stared at the blueprints myself 48 hours ago. Dad was eating it up. Victor Sandoval personally picked you. That man runs half the state. Exactly. Dylan nodded, drunk on attention. Sat me down in his office last Tuesday, said I'm the future face of the brand. Even had me sign a few documents for the executive investment pool. Said it's how they lock in the people they really want at the top. Mom's eyes went wide. You own part of the company now. Sort of, Dylan said, waving it off like it was nothing. It's a personal guarantee thing. Victor called it skin in the game. I put up $2.8 million as collateral. Once bonuses kick in, it's basically free money. The number hit me like cold steel, but my face stayed perfectly still. Grandma Evelyn's fork paused halfway to her mouth. She didn't need to see the email to feel the shift in the air. I slid my phone out under the tablecloth, thumbed the screen awake, and opened the message I'd left unread since Friday. Subject final, Aspen Ridge closing plus. Urgent review item sent Friday, 5:58 p.m. from Marcus Tate. CFO attachment 1 one-page letterhead. 100% ownership transfer of Aspen Ridge Luxury Resorts complete. Effective immediately. Congratulations, Ms. Harper. Attachment 2 internal termination notice dated Saturday, 6:02 a.m. Victor Sandoval terminated for cause, embezzlement totaling $11.4 million. All contracts, guarantees, and agreements executed by Sandoval after March 1st are under immediate legal hold. Attachment 3, a 15-page personal guarantee and collateral pledge executed Thursday afternoon. Borrower, Dylan Harper. Co-borrower, Richard Harper. Amount $2,800,000 collateral. 412 Pine Ridge Lane, Evergreen, Colorado 80439. The exact address of the house we were sitting behind right now. Purpose: Executive Advancement Investment. Confidential. Lender: Aspen Ridge Executive Opportunity Fund, LLC, a shell Victor had set up 2 weeks ago to drain the last cash before he vanished. Dad's signature was scrawled at the bottom in blue ink right next to Dylan's. Notarized, witnessed, dated. I scrolled to the final page. There was even a yellow post-it scanned in Richard. Just needs your John Hancock. Standard stuff. Dylan's going places. Victor. I closed the phone. Across the table, Dylan was still describing furniture he would never sit in. Mom was already planning the Facebook post. Dad raised his bottle again. To the next generation of Harper men making it big, everyone drank. I set my untouched water down and folded my hands on the table. The party had maybe 3 more minutes before it ended forever. I pushed my chair back and stood. Every conversation in the backyard died instantly. I reached into the slim black tote at my feet, pulled out one sealed copy of Forbes Colorado still in its plastic sleeve, and ripped it open with a single motion. The magazine was literally warm. It had rolled off the presses in Boulder at 9 a.m. this morning. I held it up high so the late afternoon sun lit the cover like a spotlight. Full bleed photograph of me in a charcoal blazer against the snow-capped Rockies, arms crossed, expression unreadable. White block letters screaming across the top third of the page. Taylor Harper, 33. The $2.8 billion silent acquisition of Aspen Ridge Luxury Resorts. How Colorado's invisible heir bought an empire while her family watched football. The yard went completely still. Dylan's beer bottle froze halfway to his lips. Mom's hand flew to her throat. Dad's spatula slipped from his fingers and clanged against the deck. I walked to the center of the picnic table and laid the open magazine down like I was serving a legal notice. I flipped straight to the dog-eared spread on pages 44-45. A bold crimson header, New owner's first 100 hours, executive restructuring plan. Effective Monday 8:00 a.m. Below it, a 2-column list of 38 names, marked for immediate termination. Number 1 highlighted in fresh black marker Dylan Harper. Front desk associate Aspen Ridge Vale. Reason participation in fraudulent executive advancement scheme, orchestrated by terminated officer Victor Sandoval. I turned the page slowly so everyone could see. Page 4647 carried a high-resolution full-color scan of the personal guarantee Dylan had signed Thursday at 3:17 p.m. Amount $2,800,000 in collateral primary residence located at 412 Pine Ridge Lane, Evergreen, CO 800439. Borrower, Dylan Harper. Co-borrower, Richard Harper. Lender, Aspen Ridge Executive Opportunity Fund, LLC, dissolved 48 hours ago. Note: agreement executed under false pretenses by Victor Sandoval. Now fugitive Dad's signature was there in blue ink, big and trusting, right beneath Dylan's. I let the silence stretch for 5 full seconds. Then I spoke calm, clear, and loud enough for the neighbors to hear if they were listening. Friday at 5:58 p.m. 100% of Aspen Ridge luxury resorts. Every hotel, every restaurant, every ski valet, every key card in 11 properties transferred to Apex Hospitality Group. My company, my signature, my money. Mom whispered, "Taylor, honey." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the hotel chain Dylan just spent 20 minutes bragging about running. I own it now. All of it. From the rooftop bar in Telluride to the ice rink in Vail. Every square inch." Dylan barked out a laugh that cracked halfway through. "That's fake. Total Photoshop. You're doing this because you're jealous." I ignored him and placed one more item on the table: a matte black American Express Centurion card with Taylor Harper embossed in platinum. Unlimited credit line. Dad's face drained of color. Grandma Evelyn rose from her chair for the first time all evening, voice soft, but carrying like church bells. "I told every one of you 15 years ago this girl was building something bigger than your imaginations. You didn't listen." Dylan lunged for the magazine. I slid it out of reach without breaking eye contact. "Sit down, Dylan." He froze mid-reach. I turned to Dad. "You co-signed a $2.8 million personal guarantee because Victor Sandoval told Dylan it was standard paperwork for future GMs. The lender Victor used was a shell that no longer exists. The bank will call that note tomorrow morning at 9. If it isn't paid in full, they start foreclosure on this house." Mom started crying, quiet and broken. Dad opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. I continued, still perfectly calm. "I can void the entire guarantee with one phone call right now. Or I can let the bank take the house you raised us in. Your decision." Dylan's voice cracked like a teenager's. "You wouldn't dare." I looked him dead in the eyes. "Try me." The only sounds left were the low crackle of cooling coals and Mom's soft, disbelieving sobs. I pulled my phone out, unlocked it with one thumb, and hit the speed dial marked MT speaker on volume all the way up. One ring. Marcus Tate. Every head snapped toward the sound. "Marcus, speaker is live," I said, voice steady. "Please confirm who I am for everyone listening." A crisp, professional voice filled the entire backyard. "Speaking. This is Marcus Tate, Chief Financial Officer of Apex Hospitality Group. You are Taylor Harper, sole owner and Chief Executive Officer of the company and all its subsidiaries, including the newly acquired Aspen Ridge Luxury Resorts portfolio. How may I assist you this evening?" Ms. Harper. Mom's sob caught in her throat. Dad's beer bottle slipped from his fingers and shattered on the deck. Dylan just stared, mouth open. I kept my eyes on Dylan. Effective this second, terminate Dylan Harper from all Aspen Ridge systems. Revoke keycards, corporate email, payroll, access, health benefits, parking privileges, everything. Reason for termination: gross misconduct and participation in attempted fraud. Security teams at all 11 properties are to treat him as trespasser if he appears on site. Understood, Marcus answered instantly. Executing full lockout now. Badge deactivation code sent. Payroll frozen. Complete separation package will reflect 0 severance due to cause. Done. A faint electronic tone came from Dylan's pocket, his work phone going dark forever. He yanked it out, mashed the power button. Nothing. You can't, he started. I just did, I said. Dad stumbled forward a step. Taylor, sweetheart, we're family. Whatever this misunderstanding is, we'll fix it together. Just talk to us. Mom was openly crying now. Baby, please. This is his whole career. I looked at both of them, expression neutral. Family, I repeated. You moved my Cornell scholarship to pay for Dylan's hockey team and called it family. You cashed out my college savings for his lifted truck and called it family. You spent 15 years telling me I was the disappointment while he bounced from job to job and called it family. That version of family ended tonight. Grandma Evelyn pushed herself up from her chair with both hands on the table. At 81, she suddenly looked 10 feet tall. Silence, she commanded, voice cracking like a whip across the yard. Richard. Diane, you have been blind, deaf, and cruel for 33 years. I sat at this exact table and watched you take this girl's future piece by piece to hand to a boy who never earned it. I watched her cry in my bedroom at 14 because you stole her scholarship for ice skates. I watched her work 3 jobs while you bought him vehicles and told her to be more like Dylan. I am done whispering. Taylor Harper is the only one in this bloodline who ever built anything that lasted. You will not beg her. You will not guilt her. You will sit there and face what you created. Not a single person moved. Dad's face crumpled. He looked 20 years older in 10 seconds. Dylan tried one last desperate lunge. You need me. You can't run 11 resorts without experience. I already run them, I cut in. Victor Sandoval stole $11 million. I tracked every cent, forced the bankruptcy sale, and closed the purchase before the ink was dry on his arrest warrant. I don't need a front desk clerk who signs away the family house because someone flattered him for 5 minutes. Marcus's voice returned through the speaker. All Aspen Ridge properties now show Dylan Harper as do not admit, terminated for cause. Security footage is logging the change in real time. Anything else, boss? That's all, Marcus. Thank you. Call ended. Dylan stood, trembling fists, clenched, tears starting down his cheeks. Mom reached for me across the table. The house, Taylor. We'll lose everything. I looked at her outstretched hand, then at her face. You should have read what you signed. Grandma Evelyn sat back down, took my left hand in both of hers, and held tight. The backyard stayed silent except for the wind moving through the pines. 3 weeks later, on a quiet Thursday evening, the intercom in my Lodo penthouse buzzed at 7:12 p.m. The security camera showed Dylan standing in the marble lobby 38 floors below. Hair, greasy, eyes bloodshot, wearing the same wrinkled navy Aspen Ridge polo he'd bragged in at the BBQ. A flattened cardboard box was tucked under one arm like he'd already been kicked out of somewhere else. I let him stand there for 5 full minutes. Then I pressed the button. Send him up. Alone. The private elevator opened straight into the living room. Dylan stepped out, blinking at the view of the entire front range lit gold by sunset. He tried a shaky smile. Nice place. I stayed leaning against the kitchen island, arms folded. You have 60 seconds. He dropped the box. Old keycards, a dead company iPhone, and a crumpled name badge clattered across the white marble. I've applied to 42 jobs, he started, voice cracking. Nobody will even interview me. My credit score is in the 400s. The bank sent the final foreclosure notice yesterday. Mom and Dad had to move in with Aunt Linda in Aurora. They're talking about filing bankruptcy next week. He swallowed hard. I know I was a complete asshole. I know I hurt you for years. But I'm still your brother. You can't let the house go. Please. My phone on the counter started vibrating nonstop. Mom. Dad. Mom again. Unknown numbers. I ignored them all. Dylan stepped closer. Give me anything. Valet night audit dishwasher. I'll take $20 an hour. I'll sign whatever you want. No. His face twisted. Taylor. That name is off limits to you now. My voice stayed flat. You lost the right to use it the moment you signed away the only home we ever had, because someone told you you were special. The phone rang again. I finally picked up speaker on. Mom's voice raw and hoarse from crying for days. Taylor, baby, please pick up. We're so sorry. We see everything now. We were wrong, so wrong. Just talk to us. Dad in the background, barely audible. We'll sell the Tacoma. We'll get second jobs, we'll do anything. Don't let them take the house. I looked Dylan straight in the eyes while they begged through the speaker. You had 15 years to see me, I told them. Every report card, every closing, every sleepless night I spent building something you never asked about. You chose who to believe. The bank's clock started the day you co-signed a fraud you never read. That clock doesn't stop because you're sorry today, Mom wailed. Dad broke into open sobs. I ended the call, opened settings, and blocked both numbers in front of Dylan's face. He lunged forward. You can't do this to your own parents. Two security officers in black suits appeared silently from the service elevator. I hadn't even pressed the panic button. They'd been watching the feed. Ma'am, remove him. Add Dylan Harper, Richard Harper, and Diane Harper to the permanent banned list for every property I own worldwide. No exceptions. Dylan struggled as they took his arms. You're a monster. They're your blood. No, I said, voice still perfectly calm. I'm just done paying for your lessons. The elevator doors closed on his shouting and kicking. I walked to the window, pressed my forehead to the cool glass, and watched the city lights flicker on one by one. My phone buzzed once more. A single text from the only Harper contact I hadn't touched. Grandma Evelyn's still on for tea tomorrow, sweetheart. I baked the lemon shortbread you like. I smiled small and real for the first time since the BBQ. 3 p.m. sharp. I'll send the car. I blocked every other Harper number, deleted the family group chat, and turned the phone face down. Some doors only close once. 8 months later, the sale closed on the Evergreen house. A young tech couple from California paid cash, excited about the mountain charm. Mom and Dad moved into a 2-bedroom apartment above a strip mall nail salon in Aurora. The Tacoma was repossessed the same week. Dylan works the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. valet shift at a Marriott Courtyard near the airport. $18 an hour plus whatever tips drunk businessmen throw at him. He parks Teslas and tells himself the night air is good for his skin. I don't check their social media anymore. I don't need to. The algorithm still shows me the occasional post when someone tags overlap Mom's birthday in a cramped kitchen, Dad wearing a hardware store vest, Dylan in a reflective vest under fluorescent lights. The comments are full of strangers saying, "Thought you guys were loaded." Aspen Ridge, meanwhile, just cracked the Condé Nast Traveler Top 5 Resorts in North America list for the first time ever. Bookings are up 68%, revenue doubled. The cover of Ski Magazine this month has my face again, this time, standing on the new rooftop terrace in Telluride at sunset. Headline, the 33-year-old who rewrote luxury skiing. Every board meeting ends the same way now. Marcus slides the latest numbers across the table and says, "We're on track to hit $1 billion in annual revenue next quarter." I nod, sign where the lawyers point, and go back to work. Sundays are still reserved. At exactly 2:55 p.m., the elevator in my penthouse dings. Grandma Evelyn steps out carrying a Tupperware of lemon shortbread and wearing the same soft smile she's had since I was 5. We drink tea on the balcony, watch the sun drop behind the Front Range, and talk about everything except the people who used to sit at the picnic table below us. She never asks if I'm lonely. She just pats my hand and says, "You turned out exactly right, sweetheart." Sometimes she brings old photo albums. We laugh at pictures of me with braces and bad bangs, at Dylan with his first hockey stick at birthday parties, where I'm always standing slightly apart from the group hugs. She closes the book gently and tells me, The best revenge is living better than they ever imagined you could. I don't correct her that it isn't revenge. It's simply the life I built while they were busy looking the other way. Last week, the Wall Street Journal called me the most powerful woman in North American hospitality under 40. The reporter asked if I had any message for the family I left behind in Colorado dust. I smiled for the camera and said, I only have one family member left, and she's 81, going on 50. We're doing just fine. Grandma Evelyn read the article, folded it neatly, and slipped it into her purse like a trophy. Tonight, I'm on the private jet heading to the opening of the new Aspen Ridge Lodge in Banff. The flight attendant hands me a small paper bag. From an elderly lady in first class on the last flight, she says, "Asked me to make sure you got it." Inside 6 pieces of lemon shortbread wrapped in wax paper and a handwritten note in shaky but proud cursive. Still the best cookies in Colorado. See you Sunday. Love, the only Harper who ever really saw you. GE. I eat one piece by piece at 38,000 feet, watching the Rockies disappear behind me. Some families are chosen. Mine is one 81-year-old woman and an empire I built myself, and that is more than enough.